ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and welcome to year number 11. Yes, we are the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. January 1st, 2015, we debuted here with Pop DiBiase and a lot of other people. I want to give him a special thanks to really pushing the buttons, getting us going in the right direction. And as we're here to start year 11, a lot of different looks, different avenues that we will be providing real soon. I had hoped to launch today, but there's a couple other things that we are fine-tuning back here. So hold on to your seats, buckle up, because it's coming. Trust me on that. I want to give a proud shout out to our sponsors and partnerships, WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Guy, Zach, Amber, Holly, Carol Bucks, Matthew, Drew, Alan. The list is endless. Go join their community on X at WagerWire. I promise you 2026 will be off the charts. I promise you that. And of course, AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Been with Terry for a long time. Had a great Christmas Day feast because of him, and my freezer is loaded up for January as well. Head on over to AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. He's got it all, and he's got the best customer service as well. And been a few days. Happy New Year. You all survived. NFL playoff set. There is a FCS National Championship game in Nashville today. Montana State. Shout out to my good friend, Mr. Rick Thomas. As the Grizz, Montana State ready to rock and roll. I guess they've taken over Nashville. And Illinois State, who has won every game on the road, they've taken care of the #1 seed. They go to Villanova and win. Here they are out of nowhere. Now 10.5-point underdogs with a 57.5 at the Circa. Actually 10 and 56 at the Circa. I was looking somewhere else. Good morning, Mr. Benson. Good morning, Mr. Stevens. There. Two semifinals, Miami, Florida, Mississippi. Right now, Miami of Florida 3.5 with the 51.5 if Miami wins. 10 days later, Hard Rock Cafe. I was going to say Hard Rock Cafe. I knew I was going to say that. Hard Rock Stadium. They'll be hosting the national championship game, either versus the Oregon Ducks in Indiana, a rematch where Indiana won at Oregon early this year. 4 and 46.5 there. As I said, NFL playoff set. Denver week off right now. And Seattle a week off right now. Ravens join Lamar joins Patrick Mahomes. Who else? Mr. Burrows, Mr. Goff, as the teams that just wasn't their year. A lot to um, dissect this morning. Cleveland moves on from Stefanski. So Raheem Morris out for Atlanta. Cleveland coach out. There was already a couple others. So I'm hearing 6 to 7 in all NFL openings. That's usually what it is. But enough of me babbling. Let's bring him in, Mr. Scotty Webb. Morning, Scott.
How are you today, man? It was a pretty fun weekend. I thought it was pretty good. We haven't been on for a little bit. The college football was decent, and I thought NFL was I thought there were obviously games that mattered, and they teams played their starters. Week 18 is a difficult week for handicapping because you got to figure out what to do and what not to do. If you're a guy like me in week 18 and you're a data person, you've got to really curtail and look at what you're doing because there's a reason why Minnesota was favored over Green Bay. For example, and Green Bay played their third string quarterback, and all their other guys didn't play. So the data doesn't matter. So in terms of what they did yardage wise and EPA and all that stuff. So I think it's a difficult week. I had a good week, so I'm happy with that. I was NFL wise. I think let me go back to NFL. That's college. There it is. So I was 4-0 in the week. I played the first game of the week, which was awesome. The game, Seattle's game against San Francisco. I thought that was good. I was on Seattle. The Tampa Bay game. I'm down here in Tampa. Obviously, they won the game, but they didn't cover the spread, which. They had lost 7 of their last 8 games going into that, so there's no reason to bet on them. And theoretically, they had to hope for a prayer when Atlanta to lose to New Orleans, so to make it in anyway. So that game, that was one of the games I won, was the Seattle game. I won Buffalo yesterday, and that was an interesting spot because, I bet Buffalo at -7. When that game kicked off, it was like -15. So, and I'm sitting there thinking, why is it -15? Because Josh Allen's not going to play, and I think everybody thought he was going to go play because they said he was good to go. Well, he went out there and took one snap, and out he went. But they did win the game. They crushed the Jets. So that was good. And then the game that was the deciding winner for me was I played the Denver Los Angeles Chargers game. Denver obviously trying to be the number 1 seed, and these are 2 really good defenses. So I bet under 38, and it didn't even come close to 38. But I also bet Denver to cover 13. Now I know it was 14.5, 15 when it was a kickoff, but and I know they covered all of that. But the reality is they didn't cover till the very end. But that was great for me, and it was exciting football. And I did not bet last night's game, the Baltimore and Pittsburgh game, which I thought was kind of soap opera-y the way it turned out. And up and down the field, they couldn't go up and down the field at the beginning, and then they went up and down the field in the fourth quarter, and turnovers and missed field goals and blah blah blah, all that stuff. So soap opera-y kind of finish. But good for Pittsburgh. They had the better record, if you want to call it that. I don't think they're the better team, but they have the better record. So you only have one team that's not over 500 making the playoffs this year.
I have to ask you a question. I went back a handful of weeks ago when Pete Carroll kicked the field goal with the Raiders with basically no time. And that was a big thing on social media. He knew. And in all honesty, if you were a playoff team or potential playoff team, points do matter. Points differential does matter at some point. So I got that. Minnesota opened up 7.5. They closed at 13.5. That was the number, 13.5. And it's 16-0. Last play of the game, 4th and goal from the 4, and they kicked the field goal. Now, I thought social media would take that spot and push it to the moon. But again, you still had the Pittsburgh game coming up against Baltimore. Listen, I've been doing, between you and I, we've been betting over 100 years. My first wager was in '75. I can guarantee you weren't far behind there. My question to you, just having a little Monday morning banter here, in what world does he kick that field goal?
None. I don't know. He just don't want to be shut out, or maybe there's some kind of personal history with that team or whatever. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason why that should have happened that way. There's stuff that happens in these games, and here's one of the things that drives me crazy is about social media, and about us gamblers, if you want to call it that. And it's the true, I guess the best way to say this, it's the true nature of what kind of gambler you are. So if you're just sitting there going through your Twitter feed or whatever, and you're going through it, and the first thing that pops up is some guy that's bitching about the referees and this calling the referees for that, and it could be a basketball game, it could be a football game, in baseball it's balls and strikes, and and all that other crap. So what does that tell you about the nature of that particular person? Well, what it tells me is that the people that are complaining about the calls and all of that kind of stuff, they weren't on the right side of the bets. It's not one call that changes the outcome of a game. Games are, in football, they're 15 minutes each quarter. So you got an hour's worth of actual play, and one call is not going to change the dynamics of that. One call can be highlighted and certainly change a momentum of a moment in time, and change the points and different things and stuff like that. But you have the whole hour of football. So in baseball, you got 9 innings or 10 innings or however many innings they go, and a basketball game is the same kind of concept. So when I see people, the first thing they do, and this guy Jared Smith he's a host and does a lot of stuff. First thing I see when he gets on is, the referees decided to get involved in this game. Look, you are a gambler on these games. What the referees do is not of your concern. You're betting on whatever side you bet on whatever total you bet on whatever under you bet on whatever team total or whatever you bet. The reality is that you're along for the ride. You did all the pre-work. Now it's to watch the result happen, and the referees don't have anything to do with your particular bet. And I say that and take this into consideration. That might not be the case in the NBA. So the NBA, those guys might be it might be a whole different story. But which is why I don't bet basketball much. But anyway, the point being is, and especially the NBA. So especially as you go down and look through some of this stuff, please understand that you can tell me until your face is the color of Jeff's shirt, blue is blue, and you can complain all you want to, and you can throw these things back at your sports book and go, this is blah 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 blah, I want my money back, all that stuff. If you do that, you're not really doing it right, and you're not really doing a good job of making your bets. It's just not the way it works.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Scotty. The NFL, unlike a lot of the other playoffs, almost does a reset. In other words, they don't set up the brackets, and if there's an upset, that team keeps moving. Correct?
Yeah. So I did a lot of work.
The reason I'm asking is because there's really two big pivotal games here. In other words, again, Denver's got the week off. They're the 1 seed. Seattle's got the week off. They're the 1 seed. But the 7 seeds, one of them is a favorite. And, of course, that is Green Bay was opened up 1.5. Now Chicago's the favorite there. And then the Chargers are catching 3.5 at New England. And so my question to you, again, is, and I'll use the Packers as a big example because, you want to stay away from Seattle, but you also don't want to have to travel to Philly if Philly beats San Fran. How big was that game, San Fran-Seattle? San Fran beat Seattle. They got the 1 seed. They got the week off. Their asses don't have to move. The Super Bowl's there. Now, instead, they got to travel all the way to Philly. But if the Packers upset the Bears, for instance, they will go to Seattle, and that will set up a Rams 10-point favorite going to Philly. Or if the 49ers win, hosting the 49ers, and the same can be said about the Chargers. If the Chargers upset the Pats, then that gets the Chargers Denver. So it's not just set the brackets up, set it and forget it.
Yeah, so if you look at the brackets, and what you don't see is my computer over here is those are images of the brackets. If I click one and pull it up, rather do it that way. What is this? Some kind of video? I don't know. Let's move it out here to where it's there, and then we're gonna pause it like that. So now you can see more of it's a bracket. I did a lot of work last night with the NFC, and then just a little bit of work with the AFC this morning. I think the NFC is kind of an amazing bracket because of the variations that can happen. So I'm sitting here going, where I bet at Profit X. I can't bet right now who's going to win the NFC. Now they might have that come up later. It's just not there right now. But when I looked at it on there it is. So Sportsbook FanDuel has the NFC Seahawks plus 185. Okay, well, you're not getting any value for that. So you don't really want to bet plus 185 with the Seahawks. The next one down is the Rams at plus 240, the Eagles plus 430, and then Bears 900, Packers 950, and so on. So I'm doing this homework exercise, if you want to call it that, to sit there and go, who's the best bet to make in terms of value? So think about a couple things here. But I'm going to go through this real quick, so it won't be a super big long thing. But if you go and you say, so what's the possibilities that San Francisco beats the Philadelphia? I don't think it's very much. I said, I think Philadelphia at home in the cold against San Francisco is going to be a good thing for them. I think when you think about the Rams and Carolina, the Rams are going to beat Carolina, right? I mean, we know that. Now, the Carolina beat them before, but I think that's going to be okay. This is just in that thought. So we'll do this one of two ways at the bottom there with Green Bay and the Bears. So because I was thinking about this as going, well, I still think the Rams are really good right now. I think there's some chinks in their armor. I don't think they've played well the last couple of weeks. But that said, so if the Chicago Bears win, the Philly wins, and the Rams win, the Rams' reward is to go play Seattle. That's who they're going to go play because they're the 5 seed, and that's where they go. They would go play Seattle, and then Philadelphia would play Green Bay or Chicago, and Philadelphia would play at Chicago. So I'm sitting there going, okay, Carolina's Rams got a pretty good break, but by playing Carolina, well, now they got to go play Seattle in Seattle. Can they beat them? I think they can, but it's still going to be a game, and they're going to be the underdog this time. And that kind of stuff. And if they were to win that game, then they would have to go play either Chicago or Philadelphia in Chicago or Philadelphia. So that's 2 road games against good teams. And really it's 3 road games altogether. I don't think there's value in betting the Rams. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, and I'm going back to the 7 seeds here because, again, Green Bay opened up the favorite. They're the wild card, no pun intended here, in this whole bracket homework assignment. Because,
right, so, go ahead.
Because if the Packers win round 3 in Chicago, they travel to Seattle. Okay, now that opens up, Philly, Rams, Okay, I get that. If the 49ers win, then the Rams host. So the whole key in the NFC, honestly, when you're trying to figure out the NFC, is nailing what the Packers do in Chicago, in my mind.
Okay, so I was looking at it from that regard to say the Rams might be the better bet. So then I decided they're not going to be the better bet because they got to win 3 road games at the best case scenario to a certain degree, thinking that Philadelphia, right? So now I sit there and I look at it and I go, what's Philadelphia's road? We agreed that Philadelphia is probably going to beat San Francisco at home. It's a cold weather game. San Francisco's beat up, right? So Philly wins. So that means Philadelphia. Then we look at Green Bay or Chicago. So if we'll just say Chicago wins that game because they're the home team, and Chicago wins, and then Philadelphia would have to go play Chicago in Chicago. Who's the favorite in that game? It's going to be Philadelphia. I mean, the Packers are opened as a favorite in this game, so the Eagles are going to be favored over the Bears. So so I don't think it's out of the world of possibility that even if they had to go play the Bears in Chicago, that they will win that game, right? So theoretically, then they win that game, and then they would go to play whoever wins out of the other part of it.
No, see, and I kind of had a feeling this is where this was going. Take it a step further. What you just said is spot on. Now, the coin flip game, if the Rams upset Seattle, Philly's hosting.
I know. Well, I haven't got to that part yet.
Oh,
I
that's
broke
the value. That's the value.
I broke all this out so that yes, what ends up happening then is if that's worst case scenario for the Eagles. Worst case.
Best case.
No, best case is they get the host games. So worst case is what I'm talking about now is that they got to go on the road after game 1. Where they would have to go play, that they would have to go to the Bears. That's there's no question they would have to do that. So because they're the number 3 seed and the Bears are the number 2 seed. So if Seattle were to lose to say the Rams and the Rams get the 5 seed and the Eagles are the 3 seed and Chicago's still in, then Chicago's the highest rated seed, and they're going to be the home team. So as things kind of play out, as things kind of play out and where they kind of go, the way I saw it and the way I see the NFC is to be your best bet because of potential positive things that can happen. And the strength of the team is the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 400, at 440 or whatever it is. There's no question that's the best NFC bet you can make to win the NFC in terms of value, because if you really look at the probabilities, and I did the math last night with the AI, I did the math. The true is they've only got an 11 to 15% chance to win based on where they're seated. But if you then factor in some of the other stuff and some of the other stuff that can happen, that actually grows to almost 20%. Well, you're at 440 value-wise is kind of hitting in that neighborhood of that's EV positive, pretty close. And the reality becomes is there's only one team that's EV positive on all of this, unless you're going to take a super long shot, like you're going to, you're going to take Carolina or something. The reality becomes none of the other teams have that kind of value in the NFC.
If you ask the Eagles right now, beat the 49ers, go to Chicago, beat them, and host the Rams a la last year for the NFC Championship, they signed up today. They'd sign up today. But I see what you're saying, because you can get it where they're hosting round 2 and then travel to Seattle for round 3. But if you told them host the Niners, go to Chicago, and host the Rams. That's the versus home, go to Seattle. I think they take the first opportunity versus the second.
Yeah, but if you look at it from what you've said, so let's say the Rams beat Seattle, right? And because that's what we're talking about, the Rams beat Seattle, Philadelphia wins. The only way that Philadelphia is in a spot where they would get so Philadelphia wins, and are we saying that the Bears win? Is that what we're saying? So if the Bears win, the lowest remaining seed is the Rams. The Bears get the Rams. Does that make sense?
If the Bears win, the Eagles win, and the Rams win. Okay?
Yeah.
Rams go to Seattle.
Yeah.
Eagles go to the Bears.
Yes. And then
I'm sorry, Eagles. Yeah, go to the Bears. My saying then is the Eagles beat the Bears, the Rams beat Seattle. The Eagles are hosting the Rams in the NFC title game.
Yes,
and they'll be
that's
favored.
correct. Yes, that's
their best path.
Yeah. So I think my opinion is that you don't bet Seattle because you're not getting enough value. You certainly don't bet the Rams because I think the Rams have it pretty rough. And I think you got a pretty good you got a pretty good shot if you take the defending champions as I guess the best way I can say it.
All right, let's take a quick look here in the AFC. Denver on a bye. 2 versus 7. Pats are 3.5 against Chargers. Buffalo 1.5 at Jacksonville. 6 versus 3. And Houston 3 points at Pittsburgh. Okay. If you sent me $100 to bet on Pittsburgh, I'd send you $200 and tell you to take the bride out. Okay, so I'm just, and I don't care what anyone else says. Houston, for weeks has been the team in the AFC if they're gonna make a move here. So I'm playing Houston wins. Buffalo and the Jags is an absolute coin flip, and then the Chargers, Patriots. So again, I was using the 7 in the NFC, which was the Packers control the most chaos. I'm going to use the 6 here in the coin flip game. Buffalo beats Jacksonville. They travel to Denver unless the Chargers upset the Patriots. So let's just play along for a second, Scotty. Buffalo upsets Jacksonville. They go to Denver. Patriots win. Houston wins. Houston has to travel to New England. Buffalo travels to Denver. Or if the Chargers upset the Patriots, the Chargers then go to Denver. Jacksonville beats Buffalo, and they host Houston. In which scenario do you think is most probability of happening?
Well, I think obviously Houston beats Pittsburgh. I think that way. I mean, I think New England beats the Chargers, and I think that because it's a cold weather game, and it's a spot where I think New England can win that game. Buffalo, if they beat Jacksonville, it's because Josh Allen's Superman. So I mean Jacksonville's playing really good. So if they win that game, then they go play Denver. I don't think Denver is a number 1 seed that's not beatable. They don't score a lot of points. They play good defense, and I get it. It's in Denver and all that stuff, but the reality becomes, I think this is a spot where Buffalo, they don't want to go play at Denver, but at the same time, I don't think that they're going to sit there and go, well, we can't beat that team. I think they could. So then you would run into Houston and New England, right? So if you had Houston and New England, and you sat there and kind of coin flipped that game, in my opinion, my overall impression would be is that I really think New England would beat them. And the reason I say that is because I think New England's got more firepower. I think their quarterback's in a position, that he would be all right. And it's a home game. And I think Houston doesn't have enough offense to get all the way through this thing. Anyway, that said, I think Buffalo can beat Denver. So we're sitting here going, well, I don't want to bet these big number 1 favorites. So you got to pick somewhere down the road. So then you'd end up with then you end up with Buffalo playing New England, and New England hosting that game at the end. Is kind of the way I see it. Now, all that being said, Jacksonville, in my mind, is the big wrinkle because I think Jacksonville can beat Buffalo. I think if Jacksonville beats Buffalo, then that means Houston has to go play Denver. And I don't know who wins that game. I'm betting under. Now the two defenses, offenses aren't going to score anyway. And then you have Jacksonville having to go play New England. Now, you can say what you want to. Jacksonville's defense is not as good as Houston, but it's a top tier defense. It's really, really, really good. So I don't think people realize how good it is. So I think that puts a wrinkle into kind of, does New England beat Jacksonville? Well, I think they can, but I think it's a tougher opponent than beating Houston. And the reason I say that is because, they're both good defenses, but Jacksonville has an offense that can put up points too. Do people really realize that over the last, I think it's 5 or 6 games, whatever it is, something like that Jacksonville has outscored their opponents by winning margin by 19 points a game? 19 in the last 5 or 6 games. They're on a big win streak, just like Houston is. They're winning a lot of these football games. So they're really, really good. And I know, New England's won a lot of games in a row. So I think then that becomes coin flip after coin flip games to the end where you sit there and you go, okay, well, if Jacksonville wins, they got to play New England. Houston then has to go play Denver. I think both of those are coin flip games, and then you have to come out to the end, and you kind of look at it and go, well, I don't know. So who's the team? Well, odds wise, Denver's plus 230, Patriots are plus 420, Texans are plus 470, Buffalo's plus 500, Jacksonville's plus 600. So, you're sitting there going, there's not a whole lot of difference between the Texans at 470, Buffalo at 500, and Jacksonville at 600. Whereas I thought on the other side, it was pretty cut and dried that, you wanted to bet Philadelphia. Here, I don't know exactly how to word it yet or how to play it yet because I think if you did it, the Broncos at plus 230 are sitting pretty good because you sit there and you go, well, if they got to play the Bills, that's the lowest seed. They should probably win that game. But I sit there and go, well, that's Josh Allen. They might not. And then okay, well, they play Houston. Well, shit, they can lose that game because you got to score points. And hell, they couldn't score points and against the Chargers yesterday, and the Chargers were playing their backup quarterback Trey Lance the whole game. And the reality becomes if they would have played, Herbert, who could maybe move the ball on them a little bit, that was a whole different outcome and a whole different point spread game and a whole different scenario. So, I think Denver's the most beatable number 1 seed only because they play good defense, not good offense. But, playing at Mile High I guess they don't call it that anymore. But playing in that stadium, gives them an edge that maybe that other teams don't have. So I think it's Buffalo, Jacksonville is the Buffalo, Jacksonville are the ones that I think could come out and actually do something in the AFC.
Well, the number that's been sticking out to me like a sore thumb there, and again, they won't have any home games, is the Texans. I expect them to beat Pittsburgh, and whether they travel to Denver or if they travel to New England, everyone's like in Seattle, everyone's afraid of Darnold. I think everyone's afraid of Stroud. If Stroud wins the turnover battle with that defense, they can win anywhere. They're not afraid of Denver. They're not afraid of New England. So at plus 470, it's not the sexy play. I mean, here Denver is a week off and hosting and will be favored, 1 win away from hosting the title game, just like Seattle. But I think the road in the AFC, the fly in the ointment is Superman and Buffalo. Their defense sucks. roll the ball out in Jacksonville, first one to 40 wins. That could be that type of shootout game. Jacksonville, I just don't know what to do with. I'm being honest with you. Playing phenomenal. Shout out to Cohen. Shout out to Goldilocks there, Trevor Lawrence. They're playing amazing football on both sides. As you said, their defense is playing phenomenal, but yet they're underdogs. Why? Because of Superman. Wouldn't be shocked if they find a way to win 39-38. Would not. And then they go to Denver, Denver licking their chops, and Denver beats them 23-16. So then Denver's hosting who? And if it's the Texans, good luck. That's all I'm saying. Now, listen, I can get egg on my face. I've been touting the Texans now for a while. I can get egg on my face. And the fact of the matter is that Pittsburgh's playing on Monday night again, and they've won, 19-24 in a row on Monday nights. So I could get egg on my face. But I'm telling the world right now at 11 o'clock, January 5th, Pittsburgh's not beating the Texans.
So I found it kind of, I don't want to say amazing. That's the wrong word. I found it kind of nice, I guess, that, a lot of times when I do these things, I pull other computer models and I want to see what, stuff comes up. And a lot of times they're not ready to go on a Monday morning. Well, Jeff Sagan's ready. So Rams, he's got Rams 29-16 over Carolina. That kind of makes a little bit of sense. It's a 10-point spread. It's 13 points. Makes kind of sense. Obviously I haven't done the game, but Green Bay and Chicago. His computer couldn't pick it out. It's 23-23. He doesn't have a game winner in that one. Jacksonville, Buffalo 21, Jacksonville 28. He's got Jacksonville to win that game, which then obviously would change the dynamics of what Houston's path could be, because then they got to go play Denver. San Francisco 23-21 over Philadelphia is what his computer picked. I don't see that at all, not even remotely at all. But whatever, we'll see how it all plays out. Chargers 19 and New England 26. So I think here's one of the things I don't think people are giving some of these teams enough credit for. There's a lot of really good defenses in the NFL, and there's a lot of really good defenses in the NFL playing in these playoffs. So if you're a team that's going to play a team that doesn't have a really good defense, you're in trouble. Which brings up the next one. Houston 24, Pittsburgh 19. Look, Houston's not going to give up 19 points to Pittsburgh. Houston's going to shut them down more than that. And the reality becomes is you've got a middling defense with Pittsburgh. You've got a middling defense in San Francisco, right? You've got a middling defense in Chicago, and you've got teams that like Jacksonville, like Denver, like Seattle, like even Philadelphia, who's gotten better and better and better on defense. Those aren't middling defenses. Those are defenses that are top tier, and those defenses have to be beat. So your offense has to beat them. Whereas in some of these games, your offense can hang around, score. Your defense wins the game because your offense kind of hangs around and scores. And that's kind of the way Denver won yesterday against the Chargers. Look, the Chargers play good defense. They don't play great offense. I mean, Herbert's a pretty good quarterback, but at the same time, he's a pretty good quarterback. If you watch them play, Herbert is, I would say, if Josh Allen is 1A or 1, Herbert's 1A. Herbert runs around like a crazy guy. Herbert scrambles and gets the same kind of stuff that Josh Allen does. He throws the passes the way Josh Allen does. He keeps those drives alive like Josh Allen does. They don't have a running game there. They got a rookie running back that is doing pretty well, but they play good defense, and that quarterback keeps them in the game. And it's kind of the same way with Buffalo, but Buffalo's more proven, done it forever. And the Chargers aren't really that way, so we'll see. But you can bet on defense and win these games. So think about that a little bit. And then when you've got two good defenses matched up, think about the kickers, think about the coaches, think about the quarterbacks who are going to come down to the wire to make this happen. The only other caveat that I'd like to add to this whole thing is if you're a data guy like I am, and you're going to run numbers and do these different things for these games coming up in the playoffs, do yourself a favor. You can run them today. You don't have to wait. You don't need any more information. Do not use Week 18's numbers. You don't want to use backup quarterback information, data, guys resting, all that stuff to dilute the truth of what a team really is worth. So you've got the data. Whatever your data was up through Week 17, whatever it was for the last 4 or 5 games, that's what the data you want to use to do the data or to do your point spreads and matchups and different things for this coming playoff week.
Not sure if I'll be back tomorrow morning. Wife has had rotator cuff surgery. Will be on the DL for 4 to 6 weeks. If the surgery's in the morning, I might be dark. Me and Scotty are going to be back. If that's the case, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't want this to turn into a 2-hour show. It is re-entry Monday. So I'll lead in this way, Scotty. What shocked you more, Ole Miss beating Georgia or Miami beating Ohio State, and why?
Well, it wasn't the Ole Miss game that in terms of shock value. The shock value is that Ohio State lost outright. I didn't know if they were going to cover the spread. I bet that game under, but I also bet them on the money line, which is minus 300 or whatever. And I bet it. And the thought process was that Miami wouldn't score much because Ohio State's defense rated number 2, number 1, and all that stuff. Well, what shocked me was I watched Miami and I bet Miami against Texas A&M because I wasn't great with Texas A&M. So turns out Miami's offensive line was able to hold up against the defensive line and actually do very well against Ohio State's defensive line. And if you switch that vice versa, the Ohio State's offensive line at a lot of times were mismatched against Miami's defensive line, and that I didn't think was going to happen. So when you talk about a shock value, to me, that was it. It was Ohio State lost the battle of the trenches, and if you lose the battle of the trenches in these kind of games, unless you got Josh Allen running around a quarterback, you're going to struggle. And Ohio State did. They struggled. I didn't think Miami dominated the play per se, but they were the better team. But Miami beat Ohio State. It wasn't like Ohio State went out there and made mistakes, which they probably did. But I mean, they got beat. They got beat up. So as that then transitions into what you look at for the next coming weeks and kind of okay, what's that look like against Mississippi? It's one of these spots where you sit there and go, well, Mississippi played a game where I thought they kind of hung around. Georgia picked up that fumble and ran it in. Otherwise, it was a 2-point game going into halftime. I thought Georgia, and I wasn't, and to be honest, I can't believe I'm saying this. I thought Georgia got outcoached by a coach that's not even, that's like a second game there. You know what I mean? Like they're going for it and doing stuff, and the momentum wasn't on their side. I thought the quarterback play for Mississippi was phenomenally good. I thought the offensive line held up. I thought their defense, which was surprising to me. I knew Georgia had struggled running the football, but they held up against Georgia's team. And I don't think that's going to look the same going into this other game. Now, I haven't done the numbers, but just in thought, I think I think Miami is going to be a better offense and defensive line than they ran into in Georgia. And at the same time as that, you're going to have a more experienced quarterback. You're going to have wide receivers that are better than the kids at Georgia. So it's going to be a tougher matchup for Mississippi to do a whole lot with. But again, that quarterback is doing amazing things for Mississippi, and you know, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, they might stay in this game. You know, so interesting. I thought in terms of how that turned out. Not trying to tie up the airways, but I thought it was not surprising that they beat Georgia. Georgia at the beginning of the year couldn't stop anybody, and they had to outscore them. But I didn't really think their offense was the greatest in the world because they're having struggles with certain things. But I thought they got away from game planning. Really, you know, I thought they could run the ball against Mississippi, and they started to a little bit, but then they kind of got away with it. I didn't think they did a good job protecting the quarterback. I thought Stockton was sort of all over the place. You know, I didn't think he was too precise. I didn't think that the pass routes were really good for them. That was another thing. I thought Ohio State in their game could have done a little better on. They threw a lot of shit outside. Excuse my man. A lot of stuff on outside passes. They didn't do. If you can't protect the quarterback, because what was there, 6 or 7 sacks against them? If you can't protect the quarterback, you got to do short, slant in passes, little hooks, little things on the end. I didn't see a lot of that from Ohio State. So adjustments weren't made. I thought Mississippi made adjustments because they dominated the second half of that football game.
Chambliss, the X factor, obviously going to have to keep him in the pocket. Man, what a game he had there. Ducks, Indiana, round 2. Indiana just, before kickoff, he gives the wink over to McAfee. Coach Cignetti absolutely dominated Alabama. The Ducks defense dominated Tech. Their line 4. What do I see? I see a very confident Hoosiers team. I see a Coach Cignetti that just reminds me, and I hate to even say this out loud here, reminds me of Bill Belichick, meaning the team is just so prepared. Details. This team is on a mission. Yeah, we're holding Ducks championship futures here. And am I nervous? I'm not nervous. I'm now nervous. They're going to need an out-of-body experience from Moore offensively. To me, this will not be the shootout at the OK Corral. If it is, I don't know. I think the Ducks are in trouble. I think this Hoosier team, once they taste blood, Cignetti just keeps stepping on you and stepping on you. This is aligning currently, to an Indiana-Miami home game. And Miami's got that swagger back. It's got that old school Ed Reed, Warren Sapp, Bernie Kosar. Look to them, and I'm like, oh, here we come. So I'm comfortable today saying I think Miami wins that game. I'm rooting for the Ducks. What's on Monday morning, Ducks Hoosiers matchup in Scotty's eye?
Well, Oregon, how many games they lost? Just once, right? The game they lost was Indiana. It was a home game.
Mm-hmm. Early in the year.
It was a home game for Indiana. 30-20 was the score. The thing about Oregon, I'm looking at numbers right now for Oregon. If I go click this real quick, Oregon, where is the? Come on. So if I look at this from a different level here, and I look at the scores for Oregon, Oregon, they gave up nothing to Texas Tech, which we saw. They gave up 34 points to JMU, which we saw that too. That was kind of a disgusting 34 points. They gave up only 14 to Washington, 27 to USC, 13 to Minnesota, 13 to Iowa. Now that Iowa game was 18-16. So here's what I don't think people understand about Oregon. How many really good defenses have they played? Well, Iowa's a really good defense. You can say what they want to about their offense, but they're a really good defense. They only scored 18 points in that game. They played Indiana, who's a really good defense. They scored 20. Penn State, at the time that they played them, was a really good defense, and they scored 30 there. I don't remember if that game went into overtime or not. It was something weird like that. It was close to that, but so I think there's a struggle for Oregon when they play a really good defense, and the reason I say that is, for everybody that likes Dante Moore, he's a very inconsistent quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big play machine. But what do good defenses do? They shut down big plays. So if you're not going to make big plays and you're going to be a consistent offense, I think that feeds into what Indiana does. And I think that's why Indiana went up there and beat them in Oregon. So yeah, it's hard to beat the same team twice and all that stuff. The motivations are different and the adjustments teams make are different and all that stuff. But the one thing you can say about Indiana that I think you can't say about Oregon is, and kind of like what you just said a minute ago, I think Indiana is consistent at what they do. They do the same things. They run the ball. They can throw the ball. They don't rely on the big play, even though they can get big plays. They go make first downs. And you know what else they do? They keep you from making first downs. So I think that creates a problem in a sense that I don't know if Oregon is equipped to overcome. It's one of those deals where you got to go and say, well, my offensive line has to meet up with your offensive line and we got to win. Well, I don't know if they can do that in these games. So yeah, I think I think I like Indiana. Does that mean Oregon can't have big plays and win the game? Sure, not. I mean, if Mendoza has a game where he goes out there and throws a couple interceptions or whatever, that changes the whole dynamics of the game. But I think Indiana is more apt to get the interceptions than Oregon.
And what we do know today is that Mr. Mendoza, you better be ready to live in Las Vegas, because that's where you're heading, sir. There as the Raiders are on the clock. Last but not least, MLB. My Moles, take it for what you want. Bregman is coming back to Boston unless someone comes in over the top. Bregman will be back in Boston. When? I don't know. I hope it's not the February 1st or whatever. Sounds like the Yankees are going to end up bringing Cody Bellinger back, which is surprising to me. That leaves Kyle Tucker, and then, of course, the pitchers that are still out there, Suarez and a few others. Thoughts on the MLB? Thoughts on the Toronto train? Let's just bring this Japanese guy over. We'll give him a shot.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of that. The Kazumo Akamoto. No, I was not thinking that he would end up as a Blue Jay. Because now I sit there and go, well, what are they gonna do with Bichette? That means I don't think they're gonna sign him. And then does that mean they're not going to be in on Tucker? No, I think they still can be in on Tucker. So anyway, I think that's probably the route that they want to take at this point, is they bring in this Japanese guy and then they're gonna try to sign Kyle Tucker or something. So in my opinion, they need Kyle Tucker. So I get it. Everybody's going to tell me, Scott, the Toronto Blue Jays are the greatest team ever. Look, they're not. They're not the greatest team ever. Trust me. So, and we'll break all that stuff down a little bit later. I don't need to do it now, but so in terms of shock value, I don't think it knocked me off my chair that they signed him, but I think that was a pretty surprising move in my world. Now, in terms of the Bregman stuff, look, to be honest, I think he fits Boston better than he fits anywhere else. I shouldn't say anywhere else. I think he fits there super, super well. He's been there already. I don't think there's a lot of teams bidding for him. It's like I think I don't mean it in the sense that he's not valuable and people don't want him. I just think that the Cubs and the Tigers have been tied to him, as well as the Red Sox. But I think everybody kind of goes, yeah, the Red Sox, if they want him, they're going to get him. And then that would mean, okay, the Cubs or the Tigers have to go and say, well, we want him more. We're just going to pay him. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I doubt that's going to happen. And the same thing's going on with Bellinger. Yes, there's teams that say, yeah, we want to get Bellinger and blah, blah, blah. The Yankees want him. That the Yankees are like, yeah, we want him back. So all they got to do is go, here's the money, and he's going to come. Nobody's going to go out there and go, we got to have Bellinger. So, so I think those things happen that way. But when it comes to when it comes to, where is it? Come on. Free agent tracker. We still have, Cody Bellinger, Ranger Suarez, Framber Valdez, Bo Bichette, Eugenio Suarez, Bregman, Harrison Bader, Chris Bassett, Nick Martinez, Julio, JT Real Muto. You got plenty of guys you can go get if you want them. So I sit here and I think, there's guys that can still stir the stick out there. I think Framber Valdez being on anybody's team matters. And to be honest, I think the Astros signing Imai from Japan, that tells me they're not going to get Framber, and that tells me that they're going to be all in on this guy. So Framber is going to become somebody else. So who does he become, and how does he help that team, and what does that look like for those teams? The team that I think is surprising to me, that hasn't done a whole lot, is the San Francisco Giants. I really thought the San Francisco Giants were going to play some this year and get involved in some of this stuff and do some things. They haven't done shit. The Giants have done basically not a whole lot when it comes to where's if I go to off-season tracker and I go to Giants. The Giants, well, that's kind of good. They signed Tyler Mahle. Oh, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But they don't have, and they signed Adrian Hauser, which is pretty good. But where's the offense to go with Devers? They need a big bat to go with Devers. So I thought they might be in on some of these guys and do different things, like especially some of these Japanese players that they thought maybe they would do well with. Surprised that they haven't done a whole lot. Obviously, I think anybody can sit here and go, well, the Yankees haven't done molies. So are they going to do anything or not? I don't know the answers to those questions at this point. I think the Yankees need to answer some questions about what they're going to do with Volpe. I think they, like I've always said this a lot of teams, I think, overvalue their players. I think they overvalue Volpe. Now, he's not a bad player, but, I think they overvalue what his worth is to that team. And especially now that he's hurt and coming back from shoulder surgery and some of the other stuff that he's got to deal with. So I don't know what the Yankees are doing. If they don't upgrade, right, it's going to be one of those thoughts. However, having said all of these things, and it comes out this way because when I was looking at playoff odds, right, we were just talking about playoff odds. My computer set up to look at baseball, so that's what it does. It's just set on, and then I got to switch it to look at anything else. So if I go back to what it's normally set for, if you want to go to FanDuel today, and you want to bet on who's going to win the American League today, right now, the Yankees are plus 360. The Mariners are plus 550. The Astros are 650. The Red Sox 650. The Blue Jays 700, and the Orioles 1,000. What the hell is going on in a world where the Yankees are that big of a favorite and they haven't done jack snot over the thing? Look, I get it. The Yankees are pretty good. They're always going to be pretty good. That doesn't mean they're going to win anything. The one thing I will tell anybody that wants to listen to me this year, as just thinking off the top of my head. Everybody and their brother loved the Baltimore Orioles last year, before all their guys got hurt and before all this stuff was going on and before they all hit we didn't play very well kind of rut. Well, if you go back, what happens to those players? Those players are going to play at least to their average or if not better. They're going to be really good, the Baltimore Orioles, on offense when they weren't last year. They're going to be a lot better. They got, some more pitching and some more stuff. Look, the Baltimore Orioles are going to be a team to watch in the American League East. I don't know what Tampa's going to do. I mean, Tampa's done some things. They're kind of weird looking team now. So we'll see what happens there. I think obviously Boston needs Bregman. They need a bat in that lineup. So that would be great if they get him back. And they can build, they can build from that. And the Yankees haven't done anything. So, but that said, they don't do anything, but they get Garrett Cole back this year. So that's like, oh, we just landed a free agent, sort of. If he can pitch. So we'll see. I don't know. Baseball's so fun for me, and WBC's coming. So I'm so excited.
Check our timeline again. I don't know the show schedule yet for tomorrow. We're waiting on surgery notice for the wife, whether I'll be dark tomorrow. If I am, me and Scotty will be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll bring in Andrew McGinnis as well on Wednesday and be on his channel on Friday. Matt Grissom and Nick Hathcote will be on in the middle to late week to talk 2 NCAA championships. Again, everyone watching and listening, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for 10 full years of public service. This is the start of our 11th. If you haven't already, do us a small favor. Head on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. We're trying to get up to 12,000 subscribers. Head on back to X. Go follow Scotty at Webby20MLB. Come follow me at EC Sports Invest. And tell a friend. Retweet the show. We got some big stuff brewing back here. Was hoping to launch this week. It's going to be a couple of weeks till we get that up and running. And then we will be your number one baseball show for sure, me and Scotty, once the season gets going. We're going to wet the whistle with the WBC, as Scotty said. Maybe we'll get some live game shots, as Scotty potentially could be at one or two of the games there. So we got a lot to work on as well. So again, thank you guys so much for all the love and trust and support. Year number 11 at East Coast Sports. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports, and that's the one and only Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Shout out to the Wager Wire community. Thank you guys so much, and stay tuned.